Hi guys, welcome back. So today we're going to be looking at how to package up your bike once you've sold it to us and are ready to send it. So we're going to need some things to pack your bike into a box. So we're going to have some tape, we'll have some scissors, probably, some zip ties. If you don't have zip ties, more tape can work. And we're going to need some basic Allen keys just to take a few things off the bike. Lastly, you're going to need something to protect the bike with. Today, I'm going to try avoid using any of our nice stuff from the warehouse. So stuff that you may have lying around. For this, I'm going to go to our box of stuff that we keep from you guys sending us their bikes. I'm going to start by putting the bike up into the work stand. If you don't have a work stand, flip the bike upside down to start with. Work stand's obviously ideal, but we're going to go over some key points of what to look out for and what to try target. So, the basic principle that we want to try to do, get the bike small enough to fit into the box that you've got. Depending on what box you've got, this is going to vary a little bit, but for the most bike boxes, the method I'm going to use should work for you. If you've got a nice big box, the less you have to take off, the better, easier, and safer for yourself and for us. So, bar's normally the first one to come off. Most of the time, your front wheel. And then we want to protect the rest of the bike as much as possible in any instance. As you can see here, I've got a box of packaging. This is all stuff that's used. It's come off bikes that we've received. We keep this and try to reuse this in other places as much as possible, but I'm going to use it today to pack this bike back up and see how much we can reuse. I'm going to be using this. We're going to get it onto the frame and other areas and just protecting the bike. As much as possible, what we want to do is we want to protect any areas that are going to come into contact with each other. This means that when the bike's in transit, there's no chance of it rubbing up against each other. If it is touching each other, it's not going to cause any damage in the box. I'm going to get the front wheel out. I'm going to put some protection around the front end, get the bars off and get them attached, and then we'll look at the rest of the bike and what we're working with. So if you have a through axle bike, please through axle back into the front fork. This means it can't get lost in the bottom of the box somewhere. When things are in transit, those boxes get moved around quite a bit and often things move around in the box. So you want to try to keep everything as together as possible. What I'm going to be doing is my bar is going to be coming onto the drive side of the bike. So I'm going to want to protect this front end sort of triangle over there. And so I can wrap the bars around nicely. As you can see with this, bubble wrap stays in place for most of the part. I'm going to use some tape just to secure it, make sure everything stays 100% where I want it to stay. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to be quite liberal here. Just going to get that wrapped around nicely. Just securing the end of the bubble wrap where I started. Get that nice and then again down to the other end and just get that wrapped up nicely. With this, key tip, the less tape possible, the better. This is because when we are unpacking the bike once we get it to us, bubble wrap and tape is one of the hardest combinations to undo, and that means we often have to use a knife or scissors or anything else sharp, and it risks actually damaging the frame. We are as careful as we can be when we do get to the warehouse, but the less tape and bubble wrap together, the better for us, the less chance of damage to your frame, which means you're going to get the best price possible. I'm going to get my Allen keys. I'm trying to keep this as basic as possible. I've got a little combo one here. Most of your bikes should have a 4mm, sometimes you might need a 5mm. Take the bars off the stem. And when I'm doing this, I'm going to start just loosening off the top bolt. I'm going to come across in a diagonal to the bottom bolt. Lots of cables in the way here. Again, I'm just going to loosen it off, up to the top, across the diagonal again, to the bottom. Now that they're all loose, I'll take the bottom bolts off first and then the top bolts. This just means that when I'm taking the faceplate off, there's less chance of all the bolts falling all over the floor, losing anything in the process, and everything coming apart. Right, got it off. I'm gonna try to do this without dropping any bolts, but chances are low. So I got the faceplate off, and I want to attach this back up onto the stem. This means there's no chance of losing one of these 4 bolts, no chance of the faceplate's getting lost in the box at all. Sometimes when you're sanding stuff, we often see anything that gets left in the bottom of the box rattles around. Seldom, it does get lost. Sometimes we get half the bolts we meant to. And so securing everything in place just means there's no risk of that at all. When I'm putting the bolts back in, I want to make sure that they are properly secured. No chance of them rattling out. So, I've got my bars off, faceplates back on. Now, I'm going to try to wrap the bars around in some sort of fashion like this. Again, I've protected everything that's going to be touching, so we're nice and secure there. Now, to attach this is my recommendation, zip ties. What I'm going to do here, try and keep things low again. I'm going to use some tape, but to protect our hoods and bar tape from the tape, I'm actually going to put a piece of bubble wrap. If you've got some paper at home, old Amazon box even, anything like that's going to work. We just want to protect the tape from going on, because often that sticky residue can get left behind, can rip it up. Just not good news. Cool. So I've got some bubble wrap there. Again, as little tape to bubble wrap as possible. A little piece over like that. Back here. And now this one I want to secure down nice and tight. Okay. At this stage, the next thing I'm going to check is how much of the bark fits into the box that I've got. Like I said, if you've got a big bark box, something like that in the background there, you can probably get the full bark in with both wheels. Most of the time you're not, you're gonna have something a bit smaller. So I'm gonna grab a box quickly, and then we're gonna see if this fits or not. I've got my box here. If you don't know where to get a box, try your local bark shop. Often they'll be friendly enough to offer you a box. Lots of them are throwing away big bark boxes that they've used. Otherwise, you might get something a bit smaller, then you have to take the back wheel off. Much the same is going to work anyway, but this is what I've got for today. I'm going to just take this out the work stand, and we're literally going to check if this fits, and yeah, we're good. We're good. Got the front end secured. I've got my box. I know that it fits. Now, the last thing I'm going to do is we're going to start putting the bark in there. And for today, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the front wheel to actually help build up some of that space inside the box. And that's just going to help, again, reducing some of that movement inside the box. So for this, whatever packing materials you've got, you may have something like this from old deliveries. We may have some expanded airbags, something lying around. In the warehouse, we use craft paper. This packs down quite nicely. So for today, I'm going to use a combination of as many of these different things as possible, show you how they can be used. We want something nice and soft to go underneath the forks of the bark. Just going to protect it inside the box there. We've seen a number of things get used over the times here. Anything from as weird as old dressing gowns, towels, pillows, cushions. At the end of the day, they work. Some are a little bit weirder than others, but old packaging materials are best. So I'm just going to pop that in there, nice and ready for the fork. Bring the bark, and we want to make sure that this is resting underneath the fork. Right. Yeah. There we go. So our fork's under there nicely. And the next thing we're going to do, I'm going to get that front wheel. And I'm just going to roughly eyeball where I want to place it. So I'm going to stay away from all the gears and everything. We want to protect that. The other thing, my disc rotor, I want to make sure that's facing the bark. So I'm going to have it this way inside the bark. What that does, it just protects the rotor from getting bent and pushed around at all. If it's facing the bark, you've got less chance of that happening during transit. So I'm going to have a look, and I'm going to place it roughly here, just looking at what it might come into contact with and where it's sitting with other things. We're sort of not going to catch the brake levers here. Our rotor's away from most of the frame. It's in a nice little hole there that'll be safe. And it's also filling on one of our biggest voids that we've got to fill. So that's less packaging materials for us to use. With that there, we're just going to get stuffing stuff in there now. Stuffing stuff. This is a part where you just get at it. Use it to fill in as much as possible. Again, key point, stuff where stuff is in contact and it may rub against each other. Get something between that. The other thing to be careful of, and this is something that we see quite a bit, is some parts of the bike are closer to the edge of the box than others. If you can fill those up, it'll stop the bike moving around anyway. So you don't want to fill up big empty spaces like this rear section of the wheel here. But if we fill up down here, there's a lot less space and it's going to secure the bike just as well, if not better. You can see there, that sits up nicely. We've got good protection there from everything. Something we see quite often that works really well, old smaller boxes, so like your little Amazon boxes, something that you've got from whatever you've bought that's been delivered. Those work really well as protection between things. They don't work as well to fill up the space though, and that's what we really want to get here. So I'm going to get some of that down there. Just going to get it loosely around there. I'm protecting the front end over here from sliding forward. We've got something between our wheel and our frame, and we've got something between our wheel and the edge of the box. I still want to secure this a little bit more, and then we also still need to do this side and the back end of the bike. Another thing to note, if you've got quick release wheels instead of disc brakes, the little axle ends on those tend to push through boxes quite a lot. We see most of the bikes that come through here, if that wheel is up against the side of the box, that axle end actually just pushes through. So again, something nice and secure between the box and the axle end is going to protect it properly. Again, just building around that back end. On this one, in terms of the length of this way, we're pretty secure now. If you do need, we always want to secure from the front end, pushing back and using the wheel as a barrier. It works really well. Tires and air, great barriers. Just slide those in there. I think we had a pretty good point here. Now, a test that we use in-house when we're packing our own bikes, and that I'd recommend, is what I call the shake test. And this is holding the box in sort of position where it would be. So if it's squeezing out a little bit, you need to push it in and giving the bike a good shake. And now when I'm doing this, what I'm looking for is any points of movement. If I've got no points of movement, I'm in a good place, because the box isn't going to shift around too much more than what I'm shaking it. And that means whilst it's getting moved around by all the delivery drivers throwing it around, passing it to their friends, showing them that someone else is getting a new bike, going to keep it nice and secure. So on this, we're good to go. One last thing that might happen, this is a smaller size bike, not a problem at all. We've got loads of space here, but you might have a seat post that's somewhere up here at this point. We want to get that out and we want to secure that in as well. So I'm going to take the seat post out and just show you guys how to do that. And I'm just going to loosen it off. On this, I've got a normal collar on the seat post. If you do have a wedge when you're pulling this out, so a little something that sits inside the bike there, you want to just pull that out at the same time. If it drops down into the frame, leave it there. We'll sort it out when we get it. But if you can, just pull it out. If you've got a wedge, take it to your seat post. Use some of your packing tape. Just tape it around the seat post so it's nicely and secured there for us. Easy to find. Again, nothing at the bottom of the box lying around. What do I do with this guy? If I leave it lying around, there's a good chance it's just going to fly around and get moved around somewhere. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to package this up itself and then use it to also just fill up some of the space. So this, really good. Bubble wrap, again, old Amazon or delivery boxes work really well. I'm going to go dig in our cardboard bin and see if we can find something like that. So you can either break the box down like this, keep it semi-whole like that. And what we're going to do is two things. Want to protect the saddle. We don't want to get any rips or anything into this upper. It is foam, so sometimes we get damage there. So I'm going to use this box and sort of just get that around the top. Tear that off. And literally anything just over the top like that's going to secure it. And I'm going to use a piece of tape around here, just hold that in place. Saddle's wrapped up. The last thing I want to do is just secure the actual seat post, the metal part, which can cause damage to other things in there. So for that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually use this, and I'm going to use this box, the whole box, to protect it. And the way that I'm going to do that is I'm literally going to take the scissors. I'm going to do this on the floor, and please be careful with this, but I'm going to use them and just drive a hole into the box there like that. And again, using the floor, get the end of the seat post and a little bit of pressure. We're going to slide that in there like that. So now my seat post isn't going to cause damage to anything else. I've got a nice big box, which means it's going to fill up some space as well. Saddle's nice and protected there. And I'm going to use this, and I'm going to slide down the back end of the bike. Again, here I want to go non-drive side. I don't want this pushing up against the rear derailleur and pushing it out or anything. So I'm going to take some of the packaging out because we were secure. Slide that in there, use some packaging for the rest of it. That's all nice and secure in there. Again, one last little shake test. No movement, we're good to go. So now I need to close the box back up. Again, I don't want to use any of the stuff that we've got here in the warehouse, so we're just going to use some tape. I'm going to show you a few tricks of things to do when actually taping the box. So when you get it together, you might have a bit of space at the top, and we want to just reduce that. So I'm literally going to give it a nice big squeeze, and you see that closes it back up. Once I've done that, a bit of pressure will hold it. And you now have the fiddle of getting the end of your tape off whilst holding it closed at the same time. And this sometimes is a little bit more tricky than others. What I'm going to start with, one nice big strip down the side of the bike, pull it nice and tight, over the top, in the middle. One nice big thing is going to hold it closed nicely for me. I'm going to do that the same on either end of the bike. Just pushing the tape down on either end as it go. Now what I want to do, I'm just going to secure all of the lips. So along the top here, half the tape just sticking out. Run it the whole length of the box like this. Push it down over the end. Nice little cut, and then just run back down, securing that lip down nicely. And I'm going to do this on either end of the box as well. Right, at this point, box is nice and secured. I've got a pretty good quality box that hasn't been used actually, so it was in a good state to start with at the beginning. If your box is a little bit beaten up, sort of a little less, more shaky, I'm going to do that again, a little less, more shaky. Okay, cool. So I've got the box is, oh my God. Right, so I've got the bark in the box. Box is nicely secured. My box was nice and new, so it's really secure. If your box was not in too good of a shape to start with, another thing you may want to do, just use some tape to secure it. So I'm going to do a pass around the edge, and that's just going to hold everything together so I can take the pressure that I've used to sort of hold those sides in. So literally going to start on one end, about a third of the way down, and literally just wrap this all the way around, nice and tight on the ends, like this. Nice and confident. We've got our bike inside, everything's nicely secured. Anything that's touching has got something between it, no movement inside. Any bits that are extra inside the bike box, something like your DR2 chargers, SRAM chargers, any manuals, any other little spare bits that are coming with it. If you can secure those inside some sort of box, again, Amazon delivery boxes are great. If you don't, something as simple as like a Sainsbury's or Tesco bag works amazing, as long as it's closed off and secured inside the bike box, works amazing. What we do ask though, if you keep it to one, works great for us, means there's less chance of anything getting lost. Sometimes if there's 2 or 3 scattered around the box, one might get missed, and it just makes things a lot slower down here. Now, one question we get quite a bit, how does this now get to you guys? So our delivery partner that we use at the moment is Parcel Force. What this means is you may have been sent your label that you can print off, bit of tape, secure your page down on top of the box here for your Parcel Force driver. If you put it on one end, those drivers really like it, makes their job nice and easy. If you don't have a printer, don't worry, Parcel Force driver will be bringing a label for you. He can secure it. There's nothing more that you need to do on your end. So, you've got your bike, it's been boxed, Parcel Force are on their way. Nothing more for you to do but sit back, enjoy that exchange value, and wait for your new bike. Guys, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe on our Cycle Exchange channel.